My name is Lammert Vrieling, and I am an adjunct professor at Webster in the area of organizational behavior, management and strategy. At Webster, most of the professors, they practice during the day what they teach at night. And sometimes always also practice at night. During the day, I lead a technology startup with some other guys, and I also am working with performance resources. We help entrepreneurs to create value and profit and more profits. And I do that together with Clement Cohen. Clement is, I know he looks young, but he has a lot of experience. He's one of those guys that has taken a startup from a handful of people all the way to 1,200 people, from one office to 40 plus offices in, 36 countries, something like that, and has done several IPOs. So I do the talking, he's the brain, that kind of thing. Or maybe, I don't know how it works. Anyway, we're going to have some fun together. And the title of this mini workshop is taking your local startup across the border. And it's a bit cheeky, this title, because actually we don't believe that there is such a thing as a local startup. Because sooner or later, and most of the time sooner, you will need to cross borders. I'm from the Netherlands, it's a very small country. You're from Switzerland, even smaller. There's a lot of foreign countries out there. So right from the start, if you have a startup, you need to have in its DNA the drive to go abroad. And when you have that, there's another thing. I don't know if you noticed this, but if you have a great plan, it doesn't automatically become reality. I've had this problem several times. I don't know if you have that problem. Great plan, reality. So you need to really organize that and have a management philosophy. I guess we now have music added to our workshop. Everything's okay. And so what we try to show people is that you might have a vision and you see, that you want to go there, you want to see the reality, but you need two parts. The one part is strategy. I'm very comfortable with strategy. I have a PhD in strategy, right? And so I know it's all about goals, processes, and tasks. You need to set that clear. But then there's this other part, often neglected, and it's the culture of the company. And that's where values come in, and your practices, and God knows, behavior. Have you ever noticed that if you have great plans for your life and then behavior gets in the way? It's behavior that really needs to get this startup to go to where you want it to. So, before we dive into the 11 deadly sins, we want to share a secret. We're all about secrets, okay? We like to share them. We can't keep them for ourselves. So, one of the things, if you take your startup across the border, that will cost more money than you think it does. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 times as much. And so it's often about money. Then if you want to take it across the border and you want to do it quickly, because there are all these copycats, the Samsungs. We have this joke around this. But that will take your beautiful plan and idea and run with it. So you need to do it really quickly. If you want to do it really quickly, you need even more money. So I'm sorry, I'm Dutch, I'm very stingy, but this is a lot about money. And so we're going to talk about money. Now, there's this thing with entrepreneurs that if you give them the choice, would you rather have a small pie all by yourself, just you, fully in control of everything, or would you like to have 10% of a huge pie with investors? Many startup entrepreneurs would choose for the former, all by myself. And even if it doesn't really succeed then. And so that's one of the issues that you need to get over. When you have the beautiful idea, you need to share it. Otherwise, it will never come in reality. And you need to share it with the right people. Now, how do you do this? So we came up with this 11 deadly sins. Now, I hear you say, 11? I thought there were only 7. Well, in today's global reality, 11 is the new 7. There are a lot of deadly sins out there, and I've committed most of them, so I can tell you about it. So the question is, did you stay clear of these? What we're presenting here is part of what I teach at Webster, the capstone course of the MBA, and it is part of a 2-day intensive workshop that we teach at Performance Resources. And so you only get a little taste. There's more after this kind of thing. So our idea is that money is never, ever, ever the problem of a startup. And I thought it was, and sometimes I still feel it like that way. But we're connecting to a lot of investors. They all have a lot of money. That's not the issue. Even today's crisis, they have money available for great startups. But at the same time, most startups, including my own, are struggling and failing to raise finance. And so that's what we then bring together. And here's the first sin. I hope you're not too sensitive to this, So the first sin is there's no exit strategy. Well, you might have heard this before. If you don't provide the investor with a timely exit where he or she can actually reap the benefits of their investment, it will not fly. And you know that all investors have funding mandates, and in these mandates they already specify how long the investment should last, the duration, the amount invested, and also the expected return. Now, how much do you think investors expect in terms of return? 5 times as much? 10 times? Yeah, something like 15 times. That's probably it. So don't be surprised about that, okay? Because for your startup is going to be successful, right? So he or she is going to cash big time on yours. There are lots of others that they don't and actually lose their money on. So in the end, their return is like single digit or low double digit figures. So if you just state in your business plan, okay, we're going to have a trade sale, or as my students tend to do, is like, let's do an IPO, and that is not going to be enough, okay? And as if IPO is so easy. So you need to answer a lot more questions. And if you don't know, you know what's really great about investors? They love you to ask questions. If you say like, I don't know what kind of exit, could you help us with that? They like that a lot better than when you come up with some kind of made up story. So the next one, teaser spamming. Who likes spamming? Like spamming? Well, investors neither. Okay, so I've made this mistake myself. I got a list from somebody, and they all the investors on there. I was like, great, finally. I had this really nice teaser. It was way too long, but never mind. I really crafted it well, and I sent it off to just about everybody. And investor communities are a very small community. By the time that you send it in the morning, at lunch they meet other investors and they say like, hey, did you get this teaser from what's his name? And they're like, yeah. Oh, so he sent it to everybody. And so you know what it makes you look? Desperate. Now maybe you are desperate, but makes you look desperate, sloppy, and a novice, because only a novice would do this. I was the novice, and so I did that. And we need to spend time researching investors and figure out what is it that they after, what is it, what their funding mandates are. There are investor guides that you can use, and so that can really help you to figure out. And here's a new idea. You call them up and you say, what are the projects you typically invest in? How long? What is your what's your mandate, etc. They will tell you, because they like projects that really fit with their profile. So do that, okay? Then this was my thesis, actually not, but a thesis business plan. You know, if your business plan is not focused on how you're going to roll out and scale your business, and spends more than 10% on your beautiful idea and technology and product or service, then you can stop right there, because nobody's really interested in that. A third of your business plan needs to be all about your market, about the access to your market, the positioning, and your USP, your unique selling proposition. Then the next third should be about execution plans, how you're actually going to do it. Now, my business plan was really thin on that, because frankly, I didn't know how to do it. Now, don't tell anybody, because then I never raised the money, right? Is this mic on? So that's one of the issues that you don't fit. And then the execution plans and the metrics and the business model and your financial model are extremely important in this. And then the last third is about all the other stuff that you always wanted to write about in your plan. Now, if this is not familiar to you, then you need to seek some help, okay? And that could be in the form of an MBA, but it could also be a course. But you know, since I'm speaking here on behalf of Webster, I think an MBA would really help you there. Okay, so let's see if we can still find this. So, you know what an NDA is? Put it on the slide. Non-disclosure agreement. And many entrepreneurs think their idea is so unique, so wonderful, that they will have to kill you if they tell you about it. Okay? And that's how they also approach investors. And they say, like, first I can tell you about my idea, but first you need to sign this NDA. And investors are like, great, I don't even know if I like it, and now I already have to do this. Lots of waste of time. So don't do that. Prepare some pre-NDA documents, but you can share enough about your product without them, being afraid of them copying it. So, and after when you get an entrance into the investor is intrigued by your idea, then you can have them sign an NDA. So, a little quicker. This is my favorite. Exaggerate sales potential. You know, you work the plans, you juggle the numbers, and then out of a miracle, your sales chart looks precisely like a hockey stick. You know the hockey stick? The first 2 years goes a little down, and then it goes up. And you've been told that every investor wants to see this hockey stick, otherwise he or she is not interested. Wrong. I've tried this. It doesn't work. Investors are not fools, and they know that if you cannot substantiate your figures, then your credibility immediately collapses. So you need to have this well together. And one more thing about these projections. You know what they do to you when you have this? The investor might invest with you, and then he or she will hold you accountable to your targets. These are going to be your targets that you greatly exaggerated to get him or her in, which then you will have a problem that's even bigger. Okay, does it make sense? Okay, we're almost at 6. Count on being lucky. I'm going a little quicker. If you do a presentation for an investor, you think you just did the best job of your life, and then the investor asks a question, and he's done this with me. Ask a question, all of a sudden, everything that is solid melts into air. You thought you felt completely convinced, everything was great, and then they're asking a question that you don't know the answer to. The Q&A grilling of an investor is hard. It's painful, and it's very edifying, I would think, but it's just bad tasting medicine. And so you want to get most of this in by getting friends together, knowledgeable friends, colleagues, and maybe an M&A expert, and present your startup to them and let them ask questions, and then they rate your answers, how convincing it made them feel. And if it wasn't convincing, well, you do it better, and that's what you need to do. Okay, so don't count on being lucky that you will find this investor that's really easy on you. Okay. Then scarcity thinking. I was looking for a monkey here actually, because we often say to each other, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. But this is actually works better, because many startups think that if we just don't ask too much money in the investors, and for a Dutch person that's not a lot of money at all, they might give it to us, but that's actually not how it works. Most investors rather have a few well-funded ventures than a lot of small ones, and so you need to take that into account. And the average business plan that we come across underestimates the cost for commercial and sales activity. You know by how much? By 3 to 10-fold. And that's really something to think about. So if you come to an investor and you ask for 300,000 francs, they look at your plan and think like, do you think you can do this with 300,000 francs? And you might think like, oh, they must think I'm really, good. And that's not the case, because you're not realistic at all. Because things are a lot more expensive, as I said in the start. Okay. Then mismanagement. None of us have the problem, okay? So it's just for people that are still outside there that have the problem of mismanagement. We have a great idea, and then somehow we think that we are born managers and we can do this. We don't need anybody's help. Definitely not that guy that done it 10 times before. And so we do it ourselves, and we run into all the problems that everybody else has run into as well. And so we need to realize the fact that implementing strategy, managing, is actually extremely hard. Have you ever had personnel, recruiting personnel, hiring them, managing them is even harder. So you need to have some help with how to manage, and that's and if you do it by yourself, then you get into some problems. Now, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is what my office should have looked like, and it should have been perfect, right? And even although the perfection of perfect is the enemy of the good, it's also an adversary of a tight budget. And so if you go by shoestrings, you can't really do this. But I found that we often wait too long until it's perfect to start doing it, and so it's much better to start quick and dirty, and then to get a cycle underway to improve. Okay, and I've been there. Okay, so I know what it is, and I do it every now and then again. It's like, oh, it just needs to be a little bit better, and so I wait a couple of weeks more until I have this final, nail in my coffin, right? So then sin 10, no financial model. Now, I already mentioned it a little bit with an earlier ones, but all major companies, all major players have a well-working financial model. Or are they major players because they have a financial model? Maybe you have a startup and you have a balance sheet, you have a budget, you have a model, but do you really know how the cogwheels work in this model? Do you know how you're actually going to make money? Because that is a key for having a good running business, that you know what influences what is your wastage, how is this all working together. So it's a big one, and you need to spend 2 or 3 weeks with an expert to get this right. An expert, I mean somebody who can build a good Excel spreadsheet, and then you're only starting. And that's not me, by the way. Okay. Good. And the final one. It's my nose growing. The Pinocchio effect. Okay. Investors have an inbuilt BS detector. Okay. If you start making things up, they will smell it from a mile away. So don't ever try it. Don't hide any information from investors. They will find it out. It's like your mum, okay? She will find it out anyway, so why bother? You know, and that's with investors. They will find it out, and when they find out you've kept anything from them, that's the end of the game. You might think, oh, if I just in the door with a little sales potential, that will get you into problems. So don't hide information, but with the values that we take on as performance resources are very, I would say, standard, but that's why probably quite powerful. Honesty, transparency, full disclosure. That's the one that we often forget. Full disclosure. You should also share things that might not be lying, right? And loyalty and trust. And these things, if you want to raise finance, need to be together. So these are 10 sins of raising finance. That's it for now. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.